We are back.
Again.
Version 4 residential sales chats with none other than Victor Antonio.
None other with? You know who he is. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Great turnout so far. We had a really good session the first time. Typically, these are better the second time. So
we're hoping
they get the new and improved version. So we got our fingers crossed. So hang on to your hats. Who do you see out there?
I don't know.
Let's do a little look around.
I got a new favorite name, though. David Wee Wee. I think that's it.
Hooey Hooey.
Is it Hooey Hooey?
Hooey Hooey. Yeah, Hooey Hooey. He's an awesome guy.
Where's Hooey Hooey from?
He's in Arizona.
That's a
He's
bunch
in Arizona.
of. That's a bunch of Hooey.
Tucson.
Can I say that?
That's a bunch of Hooey. No, that doesn't work.
He probably hears that.
I see Tim Berger out of Toledo there. How is Tim Berger's favorite sales movie not Tommy Boy?
Not Tommy Boy. I mean, that's
Toledo?
what is yours? What is yours? Besides Tommy Boy, which is a great one.
I put it up there, Tin Men. I'm old school. Tin Men.
Okay. Yeah. I like Boiler Room.
Boiler Room's a good one.
I like Boiler Room. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Hey man, who else you got out there?
Let me see. We got some cool people out there. We have Brian Bergeron trying to seem intelligent with all the books in the background, as always. Alicia Fuentes looks like she's ready. Blurred the background.
Hey
Making
man,
sure she's there. That's it.
I got Ben Dietz from Chi-Town, one of your counterparts. He's kind of like Milwaukee, I think, though. I think that's where Ben's at.
Okay, that's Milwaukee.
But he's always on these top lists.
That's like pseudo Midwest.
Not real. We may see his name later. I don't know. We'll see.
Paula's about to take off with her little headset. Boom. Lock in, Paula. Lock in.
And you got Andy from SoCal. It seems like he's like on all my Zoom calls. He was on a call last week.
Was he?
Maybe the guy's going to go do some work and quit training. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of folks without their cameras on.
Carlos Castellon. I think so. We got a good picture on that. So a lot of faces and just a lot of names without faces.
Looks like we got a full house though. So let's want to get going?
Let's do it, man. Let's
roll.
Let's start out.
So let's share a little bit about, kind of what's going on, just kind of how we did in July. I think that's important. And, as I'm going to use my cheat sheet here. July, I'm going to focus on our residential termite sales here for this group. I see my man Roy out there looking cool with the shades. Okay. I'm going to focus on July termite sales. 17% increase over last year, Victor. 17% increase.
Nice.
So it's kind of like that. The beat goes on, or maybe a Zeppelin, the song remains the same. It just continues and continues and continues. Okay. High teens, getting into the 20s sometimes with our residential termite sales growth for the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
I mean, just outstanding. And
steady growth.
Steady growth. So we did that in July, and we're right there right now, like 3/4 of the way through August. Yeah. Clicking around, I think the numbers last night said about 15, 16%. So we tend to gain a little momentum towards the end of the month. Yeah. So that's always good.
Are you seeing anything like when as we're coming out of the pandemic finally, and then moving into a possible recession? You seen anything?
I don't know that we're sensing a recession, but I think what we are sensing on the residential pest control side is we're not seeing the crazy demand, like we call them leads when they call us for roaches and ants, and when people were in their homes all the time. Right. We got more calls, right? So I mean, it just exploded on that side of the business. So that's fallen off a little bit. What
was like the craziest day you guys have ever gotten?
Oh man,
like in terms of leads in one day, what was the biggest spike?
We had one day at the call center where we sold $2.2 million over the telephone.
Wow,
2.2 million in a day, and it's still the record. That happened last year.
And typically the average is what?
Yeah, like a Monday or a Tuesday, we're right around $1 million, $1.5 million.
Is Monday and Tuesday the best days?
Yeah, so the weekend kind of builds up. I think people think we're closed on the weekends.
That's interesting.
But so Monday they pick up the phone, they call to Orkin Pro to come out and kill their bugs.
Yeah.
And do an inspection for these folks.
That kind of makes sense, right? They call early in the week just to make sure they get an appointment for the rest of the week or something like that.
Yeah. Right. Or something pops up on the weekend and they get after it. So really good days. The other thing we're doing that's just crazy important, and again, kind of that same 3-year roll. We're converting it to profit. We're making money on it, right? We're just not selling business. We're converting it. First off, we're getting it done. We're completing it. Our completions, are up 20% year over year. So that's great. It's not any good if you sell a business, don't get it worked.
Right.
So that's up, and then accordingly the profit's up. So nice. When we sat with these folks last, we were on profit plan through July. We gave a little bit back, through June. We gave a little bit back in July, but we're still on plan for the year. Yeah. So when we're on profit plan for the year as a company, Freeman Elliott's happy, and when Freeman Elliott, my boss for 20 years, is happy, I'm living a pretty good life because these folks are making a lot of money.
Love it. I heard an interesting phrase that it says, let me see, revenue is vanity, right? Profit is sanity. Cash is king. Does that make sense?
But we don't take cash at Orkin. We just
No, the cash flow.
Oh, the cash flow. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got that going.
Okay,
Yeah.
good,
But we
good.
don't
Okay.
don't mistake what Victor said. We do not take cash.
Okay.
We'll
I'm
take
saying-
your cash 90 days
I was-
after your job's
Yeah, I
done.
was just talking profit.
There you go. There
Cash,
you go.
that's all.
And
Good
one,
numbers.
one other event, we had a great event last week. We had a nationwide sales blitz where we just put everybody out and we kind of matched them up, and the individual regions kind of ran their own contest inside their teams. We exploded sales. We doubled the sales of a typical day, last week during that sales blitz with that
What
singular
region
focus.
killed it? What region? What part of the country killed it?
Oh God, you're gonna get me in trouble. He always calls me out.
Yeah. What part?
So the runaway winner for I'll stick to divisions because I can manage
Yeah.
those 5 guys hollering at me. Runaway division by far was our folks up in the Midwest, and their boss man's on the line here.
I'm a Midwest guy. Midwest.
So am I. So I show favoritism. But yeah, coming in second, in total revenues and percent over last year was our folks all the way out west in our Pacific division. So
Really, those guys.
and then the other three had great performances, but they weren't one of the top 2.
Okay. All right. I won't ask you who was at the bottom. That's impolite.
And I would not share that. So I think what we should do, that's kind of the company-wide
Good
and
numbers, by the way. Great
numbers
numbers.
rolled up. How about some individual performances in the month of July? You know me, we talk about all the time about not what necessarily they sell,
Right.
but what gets worked and what they get paid on.
Correct.
And we recognize the folks that got paid on in July over $100,000, which, as we've talked many times before, easily equates to 15 grand.
Nice.
So all the names on this list that you're going to see, these 21 folks in the month of July that got paid on 100 grand, just know they all made at least 15 grand.
All right. Show me the money.
Let's roll the video clips, Stormy, please. Outstanding.
Nice done.
One of the Cortez brothers at the top, Hassan, 174,000. He didn't make 15 grand. He probably made 30 grand when you do it all.
Nice.
Do all the
Son,
math.
well done, man. Well done. Is it Corpez or is it Corpuz?
It's Cortez, is what I've been
Corpez,
told by
okay,
Mr.
okay.
Brady.
Well, there's
So-
a U in there.
and he's got a brother,
Okay,
Ray
well,
Bryan, who was on the
I'm not
list
gonna
last
say
time.
anything.
Yeah, so just outstanding
How do you
performance.
pronounce that last name? It was Sambo?
So
So
Sambu just told me.
Sambu.
And they got this from Cliff. He just said, just call me Sambu, right?
So, all right, just think, well done, Sambu. Nice numbers, man.
Oh,
Good
yeah,
numbers,
absolutely,
great numbers.
Absolutely. Hey, what's really cool is, again, 21 folks made the list, 11 different regions. Kind of the song remains the same,
Right.
the old Zeppelin thing. But what's cool about this time is we had 3 regions put 3 folks on that list.
Nice.
And it starts all the way out on the East Coast in Maryland. We had 3 folks from Maryland make that list,
Right.
that 100K list. We slide over the country. Victor hates when I do this.
Yep.
We drop down into the very bottom, I didn't say the bowels of the country,
Yeah.
but we drop down into Gulf states.
Yep.
And we pick up 3 more winners out there.
Nice.
And then we go all the way out to those folks you tend to give a hard time to.
The Pacific folks.
Our guys out
The
in
California.
SoCal put 3 folks on that list.
I'm always ripping on the SoCal guy.
I know.
That's what's motivating me.
But
That's
they're-
why you're seeing numbers now, Ed.
But
from the SoCal
right.
guy.
But no, just really
Good
cool,
numbers.
outstanding numbers. Again, never, ever,
Well
ever,
done.
ever been the land. It's always been the man or the woman.
Gotcha.
And it just,
not-
again, the beat just goes on. The
Those are
beat
some
just
good
goes on.
numbers. Those are some good numbers. Hey, by the way, so Here's an opportunity to make money. I got a question for them. I don't know if they can answer it. I want to see who can answer this question.
In the chat.
In the chat. So in the movie, Jerry Maguire, he's talking to
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah. And then Cuba Gooding Jr. uses one word to describe money, love, and happiness. If you know what that word is, Ed will give you a $100 gift card if you put that first in the chat.
Chris Reinhardt just jumping right in there.
It's okay.
I don't know if he spelled it right.
No, but it's not spelled right, though.
And Chris Anderson.
Not spelled right. Coin, still not spelled right. But by the way, you're on it. It's not spelled right. Come on, you guys can Google faster. But Chris was first in. No, coin, no.
That's it?
That's it. That's it. It is the Quan, but it's the Quan with a U.
There you go.
But I think you should give it to Chris.
Chris is a manager, so Chris can't win.
Okay, we'll give it to Kevin Tinsley then.
He can't win either. He's a manager.
None of these guys can win. Chris Anderson.
He's a manager.
Okay, that's it.
All right, no, I want to make sure we give this out.
Christopher Driver said coin.
There you go.
Dude,
all right, we'll take it there.
That's it. We're gonna call that a sympathy gift.
We will review the tape. But I got one more if we're gonna play this game.
What do you got?
You know, we did the old Glengarry Glen Ross. You saw that clip a couple times in there, and it's a legendary. You got it's not suitable for work viewing, but if you watch the sales meeting that Alec Baldwin holds, right, when he comes in and he's the guy from downtown, what was third prize in their sales contest? Put it in the chat.
Third prize in the sales contest.
First prize was a Cadillac Eldorado.
Oh man, he got it already.
Second prize
somebody nailed it already. Somebody nailed it already. Hold on.
Who got it?
Hold on. I got to get him here. It just has a last name. I got to scroll to the top because for some reason everybody jumped on this one. Broloff. Broloff. I got Broloff first. What do you got? I got Broloff. iOS.
There's our winner. There's our winner.
All right,
we'll make sure he's a sales guy. But we will review the tape. So.
Well done, man.
So obviously, again, the courtesy of Aubrey Douglas, he kind of puts these little videos together. We're changing it up. And Victor said last time, we should use some sales movie clips. I said, well, I don't know if we want to play the clips.
Yeah.
So we took some shots. My heart was broken. We didn't have any Tin Men references in there, but I was looking for the Life magazine Tin Men. Google that one and have some fun with that.
Good numbers.
Should we quit screwing around and get busy?
Yeah, these guys are ready. Let's go.
Hey, previously in the last, this is the fourth broadcast residentially, and previously what we have done, we've shared a bunch of stuff with you from the Sales Velocity Academy, and I'll just highlight a couple of them just to remind you where we've been. The first one we really talked about was, how to handle it. I want to think about it, and I think that was valuable. So the goal is that you're going to, we kind of skim the surface, skip the stone, and you take a deeper dive into it. So hopefully you've jumped into the academy and pursued that. One of the other ones we worked on the tab of closing credibility, right? And I thought that was an important one. Kind of eye level is bi level. The asymmetry stuff. Not talking down to them, not talking up to them, trying to find that happy medium. And then the last broadcast, we spent a lot of time on inside the customer brain and talking about, risk mitigation. Let's touch back up on that risk mitigation because that resonated pretty well last broadcast.
Yeah, I think, when you talk about risk mitigation, again, the brain works two ways. It's a contrast machine, but it's also a risk mitigation machine. By contrast, it's always comparing before and after. That's why, those weight loss pictures work. Or your industry, that's why. Here's what it looked like before. Here's what it looks like now. People love seeing the before and after. So that's the contrast part of the brain. But what Ed is referring to is the risk mitigation part. The brain is averse to risk. And we all know this intuitively, right? When we're talking to customers. If you present two options, we know this already, the majority will choose the more cheaper option, especially if they don't have a relationship with you and there's no credibility. So again, the cheapest option. If you do three, they'll go for the one in the middle because again, it's less riskier. So it's always good to keep that in mind that the brain is always trying to avoid risk. The more we can minimize that risk, increase their certainty, minimize the risk, the more they'll buy.
Yeah, and I think that ties in well with, the bundled approach that we try to take. Serve up a bunch of options and, like you say, push it across the table and take away what you don't want, and we'll be cool with all that.
Absolutely.
Let them mitigate, let them control their decision.
Well, it's funny because it's like if you look at pricing, right? When you're looking at pricing, we talked about this in one of our previous workshops. Again, all this is in the Sales Velocity Academy, and if you don't have a login, send your manager an email, and then that'll eventually get to Ed, and we'll make sure you're logged on. But the whole point of pricing and moving pricing around is very fascinating. But again, keep in mind, the majority of people will always go towards the middle, but there's always that 20% easy. that will go for the best of the best package, the triple burger, the triple cheeseburger package. And I think we often forget not to sell to that group, the status group. They want the best of the best.
Amen. And,
Yep.
and we see that a lot when we
Yep.
pitch our triple bundles, and
Yeah.
you know, they will take it all.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and
Give
get
it
it
to me
done.
all.
And sometimes
Yeah.
we like fall out of our chair.
Is there something that we're not pitching, residential's not pitching, that we should start rolling in consistently as we move into the fall/winter season?
I mean, certainly. I mean, you know, the gutter protections that we do, right? Because the leaves are falling. You don't want to be like we talked in one of the broadcasts. You don't want to be Max McGee, you know, the guy that caught the first touchdown pass in the
Right.
Super Bowl, falling off his roof and dying
Okay.
because he was cleaning out his gutters. So I mean, I think that's one you can certainly make sure you're.
It's a
tuning in
morbid
there.
story, but he keeps telling it. But go ahead.
But it
Yeah.
resonates.
Yeah.
It resonates. Some of the
Yeah.
feedback was, you know, one guy made a sale because of it. I saw
because
it
of
on
Max
the group.
McGee.
Yeah, because of me. And you gave me a hard time because you didn't even know who he was. But no, I think that's one we got to blend in. And I think it's an individual thing. If the individual salesperson, are you not pitching something, right?
Right.
Are you not pitching something because you don't have the comfort level? I don't think that it's missing pieces of the bundle.
Right.
Because the bundle's different for every house.
Right.
It's having the comfort level and the confidence and the competence, maybe more
Yeah.
importantly, to discuss it, disclose it, and
like
pitch
that.
it, right?
Yep.
And I think that's probably a better
I
insight.
love the way you said that, confidence and competence. Put those two together. Pitch
Yeah,
it.
and,
Yep.
and find your own holes. I guess find your own chinks in your armor, right?
Yep.
I told the story about not selling insulation when it first came out, and
Right.
you know, it took me like a year to figure it out. And then when I figured it out, I still started selling some, so it was all
Gotcha.
good.
I
So
love it.
individual basis, I would think, and sales managers look at your people individually that way,
Yep.
right? Don't just say I want y'all to sell more gutter.
Right.
Find out if Victor's selling it, and
Right.
well, Ed's not, so maybe he should talk to Victor.
Good point.
That kind of stuff.
I
So-
love it. Good point.
So that's kind of a recap of what we've covered in the last few broadcasts. Again, all these broadcasts are available on my YouTube channel. You know, you can go back and watch all three of them. If we mentioned something that you didn't get a chance to view, go back and watch it again, so it'll all be there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all the stuff's in the Velocity Academy. We want to skip maybe one or two more
Yeah.
stones today, kind of introduce you to some new content. And this one is going to be the negotiation and persuasion tab inside the Sales Velocity Academy. It's a series of 16 videos. Again, you guys know the drill if you've been in there. You know, 3 to 5 minute long videos. You can clip through these 16 in, I don't know, a little bit over an hour
Yep.
and grab some content. So I think you want to talk a little bit about just the
Right.
overall negotiation and persuasion tab, and then I'll introduce a couple of individual segments.
Gotcha. Okay, so in the Sales Velocity Academy, again, there's 7 tabs, 7 dimensions of selling to get better. This one specifically we're going to talk about today is persuasion. My favorite, because in there we talk about, you know, how do you influence or guide a buyer's decision? We've talked about this in the past. Buyers are smarter, they know more. They're 60, 70, 80% into the buying cycle. They don't like to be pressured. So how do you guide the buying process? So again, when you go into the Sales Velocity Academy, hit the persuasion tab, and then we're going to reference, we're going to talk about today is something called negotiation and persuasion. That's one of the video series in there. It is so good. And again, the videos are very short, so you can consume 2 or 3 minute videos at a time, you know, during lunch, whatever it may be. And so you wanted to highlight a couple of things in that video series.
Yeah, one that I kind of got enamored with was, you know, it's number 3 and 4, kind of, it's 2. It's mirroring, you know, and how we go about mirroring our customers to, I guess, gain, not so much create, I guess, establish rapport, you know. So go ahead and talk a little bit about the mirroring piece.
Okay. So years ago, they did an interesting study with macaque monkeys, right? And in this study, they realized they had these electrodes hooked up to the macaque monkey's brain, and they would feed them and then monitor their activity in their brain. What they witnessed was when somebody, and one of the scientists or experimenters actually grabbed a piece of food, that the monkey's brain just lit up. So just seeing somebody basically do what they want to do, eat the food, eat the banana, their brain lit up even though they weren't eating. That's when they first discovered this mirroring effect, right? In other words, when you see something that you would like to do or be like, your brain lights up in the same way. So it creates this synchronicity. How does that apply to us in selling in general? Many of you know this already, but it's like when you're talking to somebody and they dress like you, they look like you, they're in the same socioeconomic sphere you're in, whatever it may be, in their same neighborhood, there's a connection, an immediate connection. You felt it, I felt it with certain people, right? Because believe it or not, do we judge a book by its cover? The answer is yes, we do. But that's only the initial judgment. So again, the brain is a risk mitigating machine. Let's get back to that. It's going to mitigate risk. When it finds somebody, meets someone that doesn't speak like them, maybe talks like them or dresses like them, our brain just alarms. But when we see somebody who dresses like us, looks like us, and especially talks like us, the vocalization piece, there's this like natural synchronicity that kicks in. And so what Ed is mentioning is in this series, there's something called mirroring. And there's 2 ways you can mirror. There's the nonverbal, which is the body language, right? If somebody's relaxed, you sit relaxed, right? And you don't like, if they lift their left hand up, don't lift up your right hand. Don't do that. It just looks weird, right? But mirroring could be like somebody leans back or crosses their arm, you cross your arm. Like when I used to live in Florida, people talk fast, but when I came to Georgia, things began to slow down, right? And everybody had more of a twang, so I started slowing down my speech because I realized that I connected more with people. So in that series, that's just one of the videos that talks about different aspects of actually just mirroring somebody's behavior, verbal and nonverbal.
Yeah. I mean, old school, I always talked about trying to be a chameleon, right? Trying to, adjust to your environment, right? The chameleon can change colors. We almost have to change colors. The cool thing about what I love about our residential team is we can show up in the uniform, right? We can show up in the uniform and we can morph maybe to be whoever we want. So, because if you think about it, when you get out on a residential sit, at best, you even start to finish on a bundle, you're going to be there maybe 2.5 hours total. You don't have much time to build rapport, so you got to get to it pretty quick. You can't really let them kind of warm up to you. You gotta meet them where they're at and try to find that common ground that you can take off from there. Since I moved down here, I'm dropping a lot of y'alls, right? Which is crazy. Like my wife says, you've become like a Georgian. I'm like, well, not completely. I still got that, that Northeast Ohio kind of twang. But again, thinking about that, and the other thing, like if you're from Pittsburgh, you got to drop a yinzer, right? So just advancing. And I think what we talked about in the first broadcast is that the people that you're meeting with, the way that people move around the world.
What's a yinzer?
Yinzer.
What's a yinzer?
I'll send you some stuff.
Okay, I don't know what's a yinzer.
Just Google or YouTube Pittsburgh Dad. You'll die.
How do you spell it?
YINZER.
All right.
Yins. Instead of yins.
By the way, am I the only one that doesn't know what it is? Hit me if you don't know what it is. Just say don't know. Just DK. Don't know.
That's my problem. Yeah. That's my problem.
It's a yinzer.
But again, I think that's what that does, right? It gives you that chance. And the other thing is, one of my pet peeves is you'll never see a watch on my arm. And Victor and I got into this talk about the watch earlier today. I think we've got to be kind of bland that allows us to become a chameleon. If somebody, I'll get around new salespeople and they'll come around me and man, that's a really fancy watch, and they're so proud of it. And all I'm thinking, what am I thinking when they show me this fancy watch? If I'm a customer,
I'm thinking, how much did I overpay? And that's a nice commission check you must have gotten.
Yeah.
And I bought you that. So they always think that.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, I told you the story that when I lived in Miami, I got a great position, and they recommended I buy. One of my sales regional manager friends said, look, Victor, buy a Mercedes, Lexus, or a Beamer, right? That's what you got to buy. And in my head, I'm thinking, no, because the customer's going to get in the car, and the first thing they're going to think is, hey, where's my commission going? How much are you getting paid that actually you're driving that car? So I bought a Volvo. That's what I bought.
And you still have it today.
Yeah.
You still have it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love my Volvo. But yeah, I wanted to ask you something, because we see this in selling, right? Like sometimes there's a dominating personality. Like, how do you adjust to that, Ed? If there's somebody that has a dominating personality, how do you adjust to that? How do you mirror that? Because you can't dominate a dominator, right?
Yeah, you can't come charging at them, right? You just sometimes you just kind of got to let them go, right? You just, take that, not submissive, but, just kind of just say, okay, you want to wear the pants, you want to be the guy, you want to be the boss. I'll let you be the boss.
Right.
My end result is making you feel comfortable with me.
Gotcha.
With me. So you push back a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Too,
and I think one of the best ways of handling that on top of that is just asking a dominator a lot of questions, because again, it's really interesting when somebody wants to dominate a conversation. I'm like you, Ed. I'll let them dominate the conversation, but I just keep asking them tougher and tougher questions to see if they know what's going on. And if they know what's going on, I congratulate them. And if they don't know what's going on, they'll admit it and they'll listen to you more. But keep in mind, we have dominating conversations. We have people who are very analytical, right? Just the facts, ma'am, type of thing, right? So then we have to adjust to that. We have people who are more socialized, would like to talk, just like to express themselves and talk about their families before they get to what they're going to get to. And then there's some people who are just, I call amiable. They have a lot of questions. They're very personal. A lot of questions that they want to know answers. And it's the ability to detect those different personalities that I think people have to get good at mirroring.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Some of the stuff in this segment, this negotiation persuasion, it has some background in the book that Chris Voss wrote that I shared with you last summer.
That's a great book, by the way.
Never Split the Difference. He was a hostage negotiator for the FBI at the very highest levels. Negotiating with terrorists and all those kind of things. But again, that's some of that.
So you're not saying hold the spouse hostage and then negotiate a pest control deal.
That's
not what I'm saying.
That is not
No.
what we're saying.
Just want to be
But
sure.
again, a really good read. Inside that tab, again, just to kind of give you a brief overview, the impossible request you get, right? When the customer says, well, I'll give you the business if you can do it for 1,500. How do you handle that? There's some training and some language in there. How do you handle that? Because you just can't do it. It's impossible. You'll never get there. So you got some of that in there. The fact that, rather than have the customer say, you're right as the salesperson, having them and teaching them or working them through the process to where they say, that's right, then they own it. It's not them saying, okay, you're right, I agree with you. When they say that's right, then you're in a position to where they think it's right. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I like in Chris Voss's book, there's a lot of little signals that customers give us, and I think sometimes we just miss them. That was a perfect example, one Ed just gave, that when you tell a customer something, you explain something, they go, that's right. That's a confirmation that they're with you. But if they say you're right, they're saying you're right, but I'm not necessarily agreeing with you. Now, again, these are subtle signals that, again, if we pick up, we'll be better at presenting.
Yeah, think about I'll even share some conversations I've had with my wife when she's tearing off on a tangent. I'm like, oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I just give up, right? I don't say that's right. I say you're right, right? So this is
being recorded.
I
wouldn't have gone there personally, but
so we'll let that go. The last one I really want to dive into on this, and I think this is important for our team, is don't get caught selling.
Yeah.
Don't get caught selling. If you get tagged with, the last thing I want to hear from a customer is, man, you're a good salesman or you're a great salesman.
Nailed.
Talk a little bit about that.
Before we do that,
crazy.
There were a couple of DKs don't know on the Yinzer piece. So anyway, getting back to the focus here. When people say you're a great salesperson, that means you've been caught selling. And one of the questions I get, I'm sure you get this often, Ed, is like, how do you become a non-salesy person? Well, the thing is, you have to be authentic. And we as managers, and let me just talk to managers for a second. We have to really give new folks the courage to sell their way, because it's the only way people become non-salesy. Too often, and I've seen this too many times, is that we've had success, and I'm talking about managers. We've had success as managers. We were in the field, we became managers because we were successful, and now we try to imbue the same style within new salespeople. And it just isn't natural. Years ago when I started speaking, I did what everybody else told me to do, right? Typical sales presentation is tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them. And I remember I studied at the knee of Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, and all these great speakers, and I used to do it their way. Till one day I said, it's not working for me. And then when I started selling my way, Ed, that was the day everything turned for me.
Amen.
Yeah.
And I think put in the chat something that kind of identifies when you feel you're being sold to, and what are they saying to you?
Yeah,
like,
what phrase? What phrase?
What phrase do you hear? And mine has always been, if we come to some sort of agreement, are we going to do business today?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, oh boy, the sales radar just went up. This clown, he's done.
Yeah. The if-then is a big signal that you're being sold. So what phrases do you often hear that your sales alarm just goes off, that you're being sold to? Come on, I'm dying to hear some of these responses.
Put them in the chat. My pet peeve is, I'm going to be honest with you, Stephen.
I'm good.
So what? I've been lying to you for the last 2 hours?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, Victor.
I've been here for 2 hours, but to be honest with you right now, act now.
Act now.
Act now. Act now. Today and only today. $9.95. You can get this deal. Can we get you scheduled / started today? Oh man, that's a tough one, Brian. By the way, that was Brian Roloff who actually won the Quan. Why can't you buy today?
The deal is only for today with Danny.
Man. We can beat any price out there, says Christopher. Oh, no faith. I think I got that wrong.
Nice.
Yeah. But to be honest is there. To be honest is always big. I'll be honest, and we only have so many in stock. That's my thing. Or we only have, look, our schedule's getting really filled up. You might want to actually schedule something right now.
Some of them, you can use to create some urgency, but man, you got to tread lightly. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
I think you said it earlier, right? Confidence and competence, right?
Yeah.
The ability to deliver those two things. And I think that's important. But yeah, some of these you can use, like, for example, the deal is only for today. That right there screams salesy.
Yep.
But I got to believe that there's a way to rephrase that.
Tying it back to a reason, right?
The reason. If you give them a reason why it would be a good deal to do it today, then it works.
Amen.
And so, again, we have great courses on this one in the Sales Velocity Academy. Alicia Fuentes says, if you sign up this week, I can get you $50 off. Yeah, screams, selling me, all right?
Awesome.
I'll buy
Awesome.
now and I'll give you a discount. If you buy now, I'll give you a discount. I hate that one. I really hate that one.
Yeah.
I hear that one. I'm just like, get out. Get out.
Let me spin it. Let me kind of flip that, right? So we don't want to come off salesy, but we do want to position the competition as salesy.
Oh.
So let's say that you got Brian Worth is working for Terminex and he's in your territory and he's been cleaning your clock for months. You can't win a deal to save your tail because you got the best salesman at Terminex in your turf and you're competing against this guy every day. And he's he's better than you, right? And even if he's not, and I'll use the folks from Arrow here. So what I would do and what I did, very strategically, is I would ask in my general conversations, who you having come out, Victor? You having any other folks come out? Oh yeah, we're having Terminex come out. Oh, is Brian Worth the guy coming out? Because he's coming out because you're in the turf. You know your competition, right? So when they say, oh yeah, that Brian Worth's coming out, you just simply just shake your head and you just go, man, if I had Brian Worth's sales talent and his sales ability with our services and our technicians, Victor, there's no telling how much of this stuff I could sell. So what did I just do? When Brian Worth shows up at that house, what's that customer going to say? Oh, here comes that slick salesman. Think about it as a company, Oh man, you got the folks from Arrow. Those guys are the best trained salespeople. Those guys and gals are so good at sales. If I had a lick of their sales talent and their sales knowledge with our services and our folks, our technicians, there's no telling how much of this business I could sell. So you just flip the deck when you're in competition. And I don't care, even if they're bums, right? Yeah. You want to tag, because you don't want to be tagged as a salesman. Let's face it, the only people that really want to buy from a salesperson are us salespeople. We're suckers for a good pitch. I've told the story before about a young guy with no money in my pocket, my first commission check at Orkin, walking into the Diamonds Men's store and saying, put it in a box, I'll take it. And I get up to the counter and the thing's like $95 for a sweater. I couldn't afford milk and groceries, but I bought that because the salesman, he said, try that sweater on. And my wife's there and doesn't he look great in his blah, blah, super sale. And he just reeled me in because I was a salesman. But traditionally, most folks don't want to be sold. They're Consumer Reports, all these crazy magazines say, don't be sold, get a bunch of bids. So tagging the competition as a salesman is an art, And man, I'm telling you, it works. It works because it positions you as not the salesman then. You're just some knuckle dragging bag of donuts that knows how to kill termites.
I got you.
Right?
What's interesting about the strategy, if you think about it, there's like actual science behind the strategy that he's using. So like remember Elon Musk trying to take over Twitter? So they try to invoke something called a poison pill. A poison pill is so you don't do something so you don't buy the company. So what Ed's talking about is a poison pill. That's technically what you're doing because you're poisoning the well for anybody coming in after you. And so I like the fact that you tagged them. I like to label them a salesperson. And because once you do that, nobody likes to be sold. So I just labeled the other person coming in. So what I did is I now put the person, the customer, the potential customer on alert that a salesman is coming her way.
Amen.
And all of a sudden, it's a powerful strategy. I think it's also interesting that if you use it, let's say that Brian's already been there, right? If Brian's already been there, you can still slap him with the label because the decision hasn't been made.
Absolutely.
And you're not bad-mouthing the competition. It's like a backhanded compliment, So that's interesting.
No, I didn't know about all the science behind it, but I've been using it for 40 stinking years. So it's proven to be very effective in knocking the competition out.
Simple things, man. Simple things.
Amen. So again, jump into that negotiation and persuasion tab, 14 videos, super stuff in there, just outstanding. Let's do a little housekeeping, then get out of here, right?
All right,
we're up against the time.
Let's wrap it up.
So when they start playing football, the NFL starts playing football, I always considered that to be our transition season, right? So, we kind of been bumping along through the spring and the summer, and we're getting a pretty good lead flow, right? So we got folks calling us, we're getting out there. Some of you are still in situations where you get some inbound calls for thing about there. But I think when it comes time, when the leaves start to fall and we start, as Brian Roloff said, start selling more insulation because it's getting cooler, and selling some leaf guard, I think what you've got to do, you've got to be cognizant of that and not fall into the trap to where, you're not booking up tomorrow yet because something's going to come in and it'll fill the spot. And then nothing comes in tomorrow and you're stuck in the spot where you got a big hole in the middle of your day and you're scrambling in the morning to fix it. So my suggestion to you is get ahead of that, start that transition, start making your season more creative than it typically has been so far, making sure you have full days. And I think the best place to do that is going out and seeing all the business that we've sold, all the new pest control customers that the call center has added to the books, thousands and thousands of new customers that in all likelihood, you probably haven't had a chance to get around to all of them in your territory yet. So schedule those, go out and do a quality assurance check on them. There was an interesting chat going on. As many of you know, I'm on a lot of the group me chats, and it was a conversation that was going on the Maryland region chat, probably a week or two ago between Celeste Curley and Brian Benkin, both Chairman's Club sales winners, about when to go on the new PC start. So they kind of took two sides, and they truly believe it. Brian Benkin wants to be there when the tech's there. Celeste Curley prefers the approach of showing up 3 days later and positioning it as a quality assurance audit. I don't care when you go. Go when you're comfortable, go when it makes sense, but go, I guess, would be my message. It was a great back and forth, that they had going on, and there's no wrong answer to that. When do you go visit a new PC customer? Anytime you can go. But again, you'll find your own preference there. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing to share.
Who has the higher numbers this quarter between those two?
Well, Celeste was on the list in July.
I'll listen to Celeste.
Yeah,
now.
Celeste was she was at like 123.
I'll listen to Celeste right now.
Good thing they were on the last call. Brian was not, but he was on it the month before. But they're both Chairman's Club winners. They wear the gold jackets.
I don't
and
know.
all
Matt Beacon agrees with me. Am I right, Matt? Yeah, Matt agrees with me.
So go with Celeste. Just a couple things. I'm gonna send a link tonight. Hopefully I don't know if we'll get the video ready tonight, but I'll do a follow-up tonight. I'm going to send you a link to Victor's podcast on selling in the recession. We're not going to spend a lot of time because we're pushing up against it, but it's 17 short 2 to 3 minute, podcasts you can listen to when you're driving that talks about selling in the recession, because, whether we want to realize it or not, we're in a recession. I mean, it's there. Yeah. Whatever the politicians are saying, money's tight for folks, and we got to figure out ways to help them when money gets tight. So I think that'll be helpful. The other thing I'm going to link up is a podcast or an interview, I guess is a better way to put it, you did with Anthony.
Yep.
Give him a little bit on that.
Yeah, Anthony Norino's, he's one of my favorite people to interview because I think he produces one new book every year. And I love his conversations because they're very fresh in terms of perspectives and idea on how the modern seller is changing. So he talks about in his book, Elite Sales Strategies, about something called the one-up strategy. In other words, how to position yourself one-up on a customer. And even when the customer is one-up, how to take advantage of that. So again, it's called Elite Sales Strategy. Send them the link.
I will.
And the podcast, by the way, it's a great podcast. It's what is it, 55 minutes? Great interview.
I was personally fascinated by it. I mean, but as you know, I'm kind of a geek about this kind of stuff. So I loved every single minute of it, and just really engaged with it. So I thought, so I'll share
I just want to emphasize, hit up, like I said, the Sales Influence podcast. Again, you can get it anywhere. And I've combined long-form interviews with short-term content, short-span content. So if you're in the mood, if you've got a long drive, I got something for you. If you just want 3-4 minutes of content, I got that too. So check it out.
I will share those tonight via email with all of you. We've had some some folks wanting, hey, when's the next broadcast? When's this? We've tried to bounce and try to fit the studio time and making sure that Victor and I's schedules kind of align. So we've already fixed in on the date for September. So mark your calendars for September 27th. We'll do an 8:30 and an 11:45 Eastern time. So a little bit of different time on this second broadcast. We pushed it back because there's a couple folks in between us. But yeah, just get that on your calendars, and the links will come out later, closer to the event. But the last thing I would ask you, if you're your GroupMe or your Teams chats, blow that thing up after this broadcast and post some takeaways. Post some takeaways on that for this reason. The takeaways are here for a reason, and the takeaway, what we want you to do is, my takeaway from this broadcast may be completely different than Victor's or Jeff Brethmel's or somebody else that watched it, but if I see yours, it may remind me, oh yeah, that was pretty cool, I like that. So please blow that up. Everybody on this call, post a takeaway on whatever vehicle you're using to communicate with your staff.
Love it.
Anything else?
Nope. Donuts have been rolled into the studio here. And when you roll donuts into the studio, you want donuts. I'm not joking.
What is going on here?
I have no idea.
I just say that I learned from Victor over the years, of all the recordings we've done with Victor over the years, and he's all about options. So I wanted to give you guys some options on donuts. I'm going to sell you some donuts. And I wanted to give you options.
All right.
So
I'm claiming that one right there. Yeah.
I'm taking money over here to the
All
side.
right. Appreciate you, man. I like him.
Jeff
I
Fresno,
like him.
folks, he's one of the guys behind the scenes here that gets this thing done.
Appreciate
That's a
it.
surprise.
Yeah.
That's all I got. You got anything else?
I got nothing
I can't
else.
follow that up.
Nope. Have
So
a great
we will
week.
see you September 27th. Blow those group me's up, please. Thank you.
Take care, guys.